No, dude. No.
It's a passive ventilation.
This, you see how well designed this car is. Because if it was, I think, less modern cars, he wouldn't have had a head anymore.
We nearly died. And when you look at the car, you can definitely tell it's not a clickbait. And if I didn't know that Anton, the owner and the passenger in this case, and me, the driver, were in the car, I would have never believed if you told me that the occupants of that car got out with just some minor injuries. So this is another testament to the BMW M engineering team for building not only one of the best track cars, but some of the safest cars in the world, together of course with safety equipment around the track. In today's video, we will tell you what has happened, why it possibly has happened, but most importantly, what we need to know is, are you okay?
Literally fine.
Feeling all right?
Yeah.
No hard feelings?
No hard feelings.
Good. So that's the first important and foremost. And second, most burning question of the internet, what happens now and who is going to be paying for this? We will tell you later that there was some anomaly that caused the car to not decelerate as it should have been. But I do personally believe when the driver, in this case me, decides to go flat out through Foxhole at speeds of 200 plus kilometers per hour, then the driver is responsible because he does not leave enough room for mistake. Let's say there was literally not enough room for something to go wrong and something went wrong. In this case, I take full responsibility and we agreed among each other that I will help you to rebuild the car. And that's how I also have been doing in the past. Now we know also 2 years ago there was another case also with the M4 but with the previous generation where I also fully rebuilt the car, but on top actually put a couple of extra mods on it. So the owner received actually a fully different, fully built car. And in this case, I could have said like, okay, here's the car, see you, maybe let's do a lap. And even by now, actually, a lot of companies and friends of mine reached out and said like, hey, if you need something for the car to help us to rebuild it, the community has gotten so crazy together by helping us to support, to bring this negative experience to a positive end, that has been already very uplifting, and for which massive thank you also to all of you for positive messages. But I want to see if we can try to take it maybe to a next level. And therefore, I'm going to set up GoFundMe public donations where you can support this project, not for the rebuilding case, because right now, again, thanks to you, I'm fortunate enough to be able to rebuild this. But I want to see how far we can take it. Maybe we can build a proper GT3 killer. Maybe we can go really crazy. We can see where we're going to go. And there's of course going to be benefit for you guys, starting from having your name on the car incorporated in the wrap for the donators, having taxi laps with the car. I can fly you out to the Nürburgring, you can hang out with us. There's a lots of extra things, and most importantly, since we're talking about this fundraiser thing, you know from the past, whenever I had fundraisers organized, I would always donate to the charity extra. And the reason why I'm doing it a public fundraiser is that everyone will know how much money we will be not earning, but getting, how much money we will be spending on what, because I want to take you on this journey of what it costs to own a car, to build a car, to crash a car on the Nürburgring, recover the car, and build a new one. Again, I want to turn the negative thing to, I would say, in a way, positive, because even by now, we can laugh about it.
Yeah, of course.
And I think we are allowed to laugh about it. And if some people on the internet want to laugh about it, then let them have.
Yeah, I mean, not a lot of people survive this crash and we can laugh.
Exactly. And if this is what we can do, I think that's a good thing. What happened next with the car? As you can see, it's already on the truck, on a recovery truck. It will be taken to Poland because that's where you live.
I do.
And where they also can make cars cheaper. No, maybe actually, we don't know. Maybe we will be rebuilding even here because a lot of companies have reached out to us to help us with the rebuild process, so we don't know where it's going to happen. But the car will go to Poland, first of all, because there's another thing happening. At the end of the month, there's going to be Ultrace, where we will be going and we'll be taking this car to show it to you there. So if you want to take an up-close look over there to see the damages up close, take as many pictures and videos as you want, make pictures with us, ask us about all the spicy details, come there and meet us. Final thing what I want to say when it comes to this particular car, I keep thanking BMW M Engineers, and I want to publicly tell them, if you want this chassis, minus the engine and a couple of other things that we can use for the rebuild. If you want this chassis for your research and development purposes, including the video footage, you can reach out to me. We don't need to have to make it a public thing. I want to donate the chassis. We want to donate the chassis because it's your car, to either BMW M test research team to see how they can make their cars even safer or how their systems work. And if BMW M does not accept the chassis, then we would like to see if some of the automotive universities would like to have it again for the knowledge and explanation what happens behind it. That's what we want to do with the chassis. Let's talk about what has happened. As you know, unfortunately, due to my media license agreement with the Nürburgring, I'm not allowed to show any crashes during the lap, and actually not allowed to show anything to a point when things start to go wrong. But I already posted something on my Instagram. You can already read about it. Before I'm gonna go into details, I want to tell you, we cannot blame BMW for something going wrong, because this is not a stock car. As a matter of fact, we cannot blame any of the components in particular, or companies who have built the car or whatsoever, because too many components, too many things have been done to the car. And at this point, we will never find out what the hell actually went wrong and what caused the brake pedal to go stiff. But in short, what has happened, went through the compression, the car squatted, and the brake pedal then went stiff. It did not react as much as it would otherwise, so the car did not decelerate enough. So whether it was the suspension, the brakes, the remap that caused the ABS to trip, we do not know. We'll probably never find out. At the end of the day, everyone is fine, and you need to learn from it that things can go wrong, and you should take responsibility when it happens. Again, a big testament to BMW M team for building such a safe car. And aside from taking responsibility, I should maybe publicly apologizing for fucking up your car.
It happens, man.
Yeah. So, since my media license agreement with the Nürburgring does not allow me to post crash footage, I'm just going to use the old good Assetto Corsa to show you where it happened and why it has happened. So here we will be descending Foxhole, and in the bottom of it, the high compression zone, the car compressed completely, pulled out a lot of smoke. So over here, and when I went on the brakes, nothing happened. Then I turned in, you cannot take the curb anymore, went to the outside, and then went completely straight, then launched up in the air, hit the barrier, and then launched up again and hit the third barrier. Now, attentive viewers have seen that I did a lap with this car earlier in the year in April, and when we went through compression there with 230 kilometers per hour with the previous suspension setup, it also squatted and it actually tore off the cable of suspension. And in this case, it was even worse, because whatever happened, whatever made the car squat, it made the brake pedal go stiff and not react on the brakes. And the fact that it caused a lot of smoke and weird behavior is something that was actually documented by the photographer who was standing trackside, and he also gave that statement to the police and mentioned it to me while I was on the way to the hospital. And later I saw it actually on my GoPros, and when the car squatted through the compression, the GoPro even shifted, so there was a lot of G-forces involved through that compression section. And now let's do a quick walk around the car and show you the damage to it. I mean, long story short, I don't think we can fix it anymore. Everything, literally almost everything has been destroyed. I do want to say is we're going to save the most horrible part for later in the video, explaining to you that hole over there that could have costed our lives, but we're going to start chronologically. So the car's first impact was with this side. It went kind of frontal, but more with the left side of the car into the barrier. You can see that crash bar has done its job, and actually the wheel has been completely ripped out of the suspension, and it's now just on the trailer like that. But if you see somehow the pictures of how it was on track, the wheel was somewhere completely else. The wheels are a bit damaged, so I don't think we can sell those. The brake system might be still okay, actually, so yeah. Other than that, we cannot see what's happening underneath, but I don't think there is worth seeing what is happening underneath because there is nothing left. While we're here, I think we can actually lift the bonnet and see if anything has gone wrong over there. What I do want to say is because the wheel has been ripped off, it started leaking. I don't know whether it was the brake fluid or some other fluid on a hot glowing brake disc, and it started to burn. Therefore, the car is covered in the fire extinguisher foam or powder. And the same happened on the rear, but we'll tell you more on that in a bit. So let's have a look. I'm gonna climb up onto this. The strut bar is usually flat on a S58, but now as you can see, the chassis has been shifted slightly. Yeah, exactly. Quick shout out to Venturi intake. Maybe it's actually still in one piece. Maybe we can save it. Ah, there we go. We have a proper Venturi sign. Yeah, other than that, we don't know if the engine is still running. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe it has been crashed. Maybe it has oil starvation because it did some flipping and some pirouettes. We will find out when the car will be disassembled completely. The bonnet, of course, has been destroyed as well. This we will tell you in a bit. All right, we can actually proceed. The mirrors are intact. Who needs some carbon fiber mirrors? The doors, actually, also important to mention, there is some dislocation here, but overall, if you can reposition them, they are actually fine. Interior wise, as you can see, the airbags did not pop because they were disconnected because the car has 6-point harnesses. The seats, the harnesses, everything done its job. And maybe AST roll bar done its job as well because the roof, I think, got slightly moved. So good job for that. And we can have a sneak peek of the biggest damage of the hole in the roof, and stay tuned for the explanation of how it happened. But you can see that there's a massive hole, and actually the roof liner, you can see on the video, it's scratching my helmet visor. So that came very, very close. But for the rest, actually, the interior, the dashboard, everything is pretty much intact and can be used, but I believe for our rebuild of the car, we won't be using stock dashboard anyway. What I do want to say, for safety's sake, if you're going to be having a track car, especially older track cars, consider putting PPF on your windshield so you will not have an explosion and a shower of glass in case of an impact. Especially with older cars, that is quite often the case when something like this is happening. Something to think about, because that thing will definitely cut you and might even blind you. Later we will demonstrate you that the back actually grabbed the barrier as well and sent it in a pirouette on the guardrail, and afterwards at the end it landed on the barrier as well. So this tore off and dented the exhaust completely. There were some hopes from you to have the Akrapovic being saved, but unfortunately you can see there that yeah, it's been completely dented and flattened, and that's kind of it. You also said that the diff has been destroyed.
The diff is completely shattered.
So we need a proper LSD then in that for later use. The funny thing, what did survive is the carbon fiber trunk. It did flex a bit, and then it flexed itself back because I had a rear view camera facing to see exactly what was. Oh, hi, you have some souvenirs. If someone wants to have some of the souvenirs, join our fundraiser and you can have some of them with us signing them for you. I think it might be a bad superstition. If you're superstitious, you don't need to have them. But some crash parts, I think it's something that we can do a giveaway of. The wing also actually, with this part, dug into the ground. That's why you see this whole part being damaged. It actually smacked itself to the ground when it was pirouetting. So the whole side is dented, the wing is done, but the mounts are actually quite okay, quite strong. Yeah, that's not too bad. Yeah, CSL lights are gone on this side. How are they on here? So this is okay. So this side is fine. Good. At least one CSL light is doable and okay. Is this wheel okay? Actually, it looks just a bit scratched. Just some scratches, yeah. The tires are also fine, and then on this side, yeah, you can see the same, the fire extinguisher powder, lots and lots and lots of glass, also some shock. The suspension part is being a bit sad here, and some extra additional parts, and as well as the shattered glass and extra trash. Finally, also this part, this wheel suspension has been ripped off by multiple impacts. We have, I think, I would say 35 degrees of negative camber here, maybe, something like that. Super stance nation. It's been also cut here, not that it adds to the experience. Here is something interesting. I guess this is the part that was burning on top in additionally, because it was burning on the other side for sure, but this side I guess as well, because this is molten completely. And why exactly it happened, I do not remember. So, but yeah, it did happen. We were hoping that the headlight survived, but there are some scratches, unfortunately. And everything underneath is also far gone, and there is nothing of the front. So yeah, our hope is that the engine might be alive, maybe not, but it will be a full rebuild from the ground up of a new car anyway, or just buying a completely new car and then putting the parts on it. We will see how far we are going to take and how far you want us to take it. And yeah, now let's proceed to the spiciest part, which is the roof. Even on Assetto Corsa, I could not replicate this acrobatic maneuver that we did with the car. So for that purpose, we have here a BMW M3 E30. If there would have been an E30, we would not be talking here, although I don't think it can reach 200 plus 50 kilometers per hour. And we 3D printed a barrier to show you what actually happened. And since this is white, let me take off some of the wrap. Now this is kind of represents the car properly. The main thing what I want to tell you here is this most scary damage on the roof. And where comes the we could have died? Because the barrier went through the roof. And how did it happen? So when the car impacted the barrier, it launched upwards because the hit was with 130 kilometers per hour. So the barrier dissipates the power, so it launches the car somewhere away. Sometimes it either bounces back, but in this case it was so fast that it was going upwards. But then it grabbed with the back wheel against the barrier, flipped it, pirouette, and sent it backwards again. We have it on our front-facing GoPro camera that it is happening, that the last thing that the GoPro is seeing is that the car is dive bombing the barrier again from this angle into the windshield. And as you can see, there is this massive dent of the windshield towards the roof, towards the driver. The sun visor just scratched the visor of my helmet. That's the only damage that there is on my helmet and to me. And it could have been already in this case, could have gotten severely more wrong, but the A-pillars did their job, the roof did its job. It's a miracle. But one thing, if we would have been a couple of more centimeters to the right, and if we take off this fantastic barrier, the barriers are being held by the barrier posts. And if the car, with the windshield, would have gone straight into the post, I wouldn't be making this video here right now. So it's a miracle that we got out on this car just like it is, and we were really a few centimeters close from going completely wrong. Again, it's a very crazy freak accident. I never seen anything like that happen. People on the internet, also like people who do not agree with my views, who are like sometimes express a negative opinion, even they said in public groups, seeing how things went wrong there, it wouldn't have been even a beginner mistake. It was absolute disaster that went wrong, and absolute insane that we got out with almost 0 injuries and just a few scratches from the windshield being exploding into our faces. So right now I can actually show you the only damages that I have to myself is some cuts on the arm from the windshield exploding, and something here, I don't know where it came from, but something burnt. There's no pain on my neck anymore. What about you? Nothing crazy. Having said that, I always say regarding the helmet theme, in public session on the Nürburgring, because the road rules apply during the public sessions, and the public roads exclude the use of HANS, the head and neck restraint system or safety system, because according to the thinking behind it, you cannot turn your head enough. It restricts your visibility. I personally disagree with that, because during racing you need to watch for the incoming GT3 cars behind you or any other faster traffic. But that's a topic, that's a discussion that it's out of this question. So I always have said, like, in modern cars, you don't have to. I personally, I don't like to wear a helmet because you have airbags, you have all the safety systems, and with a helmet in a stock seat, usually, especially when you cannot move the helmet backwards, you can do more harm than good. This was an exception. It doesn't have stock seats, it has 6-point harnesses, airbags are deactivated, and the car is quite fast, so I thought, you know what, let's put a helmet on. Because I think the speeds we might be doing with this car, it's going to be quite in a helmet to be safe territory. So in this case, helmet definitely saved me from scratching my nose by the roof liner. It added, of course, a bit of damage to the neck, but luckily the doctors have checked it out. There's like no permanent damage. The spine was not overstretched. We had a full checkup. And by the way, massive thank you to the hospital down personnel for being absolutely cool about it, and in a way being fans of mine, because people knew that it was me coming there to the hospital before doctors met me. And the doctor, actually one of the leading doctors, said like, oh shit, when I heard it was you and you had a crash with over 200 kilometers per hour, it was like 130 or so, I thought he's never wearing helmet. But so they were super cool. They helped us out, they checked us out, everything is fine, we have no damage. So in this case, it did change my perception on whether you should wear a helmet. I mean, yes, in this case, I would take stretched neck muscles over having something really bad. And aside from that, being absolutely showered by the glass explosion, because my hands were cut open and you can see scratches. I have a couple of scratches on my actual glasses. Therefore, I could have been, well, either my face would have been scratched without a helmet, or I would have been blinded without those. Would have, could have, should have. If you're considering wearing a helmet, wear then in that case a full face helmet and not an open face, because there's a proper reason for it. So again, and also finally, regarding would a full roll cage have saved us? I don't know. In this case, we are fine. We don't have to talk about if full roll cage would have been better. Again, would have, could have, should have. Maybe it would have been even worse, because right now the force could be distributed and the car launched back and fell on the other side of the barrier, because that's how the car ended up on the barrier afterwards. There was like, so first one impact, then on top, and then it would end like this. So you could have seen probably videos or pictures on social media that the car was landing like that. That's why it happened. If there was a full roll cage, maybe the forces would have been so good, so great, and they could not dissipate and the roof couldn't break, that the impact and the additional G-forces would have been so much higher that we would have an actual whiplash, a lot more damage to our necks, or it would maybe get stuck on the barrier with the top roll bar of the roll cage, and things would have been worse. I don't know. I don't want to find out. But all I want to say is that, again, this is a miracle. It's an engineering miracle. I've seen people die from far less worse crashes, and you see people survive with something like this. It's hard to say what is better, what is worse, but in this case, the safety systems have done their job. So one more time, thank you BMW for making something like this. Just one last part I want to add to this video is what had happened after the crash. First of all, I asked if Anton was okay, to which he replied, "Вроде okay," which means kind of okay. I think I'm okay, and yeah, luckily we were okay. We got out of the car, and then we realized that the car started to burn. So some parts extinguished itself, then the marshals came, they extinguished it, then they closed the track, seeing how bad the accident was. Ambulance came, then second ambulance came, fire department came to actually extinguish it properly, and not just with fire extinguisher, but with water. Then the emergency doctors on the spot asked if we were feeling all right, because we didn't have anything other than the cuts from the glass, to which we said yes, for now it seems okay. And they gave us the option, because we looked all right, although nobody could believe it, that we still can go to the hospital, but we not necessarily have to, because we looked all right, we didn't show any signs that was completely bad. And we said, considering this, let's go to the hospital just to make sure that everything is all right. So we had a ride to the hospital of the village of Down, where we got completely checked, x-rayed, all the bones, all the vital organ checks, everywhere where it was hurting. They did the ultrasound and x-ray to make sure that everything was actually all right. And everything was actually okay. There was no permanent damage, long-lasting damage. They said our neck is going to be hurting, and it did for me for like 1.5 days. Now it's completely fine, and the rest is actually okay. Drink a lot of water, 3 to 4 liters per day for recovery, and yeah, voila. So then the following day we went to check the car at the recovery services. By now, together with recovery, with parking for 5 days, and putting the car on the trailer, we paid already close to 1,000 euros for the recovery service alone. The barrier damage and the marshals on site, I will not be surprised if the price is going to be between 10 and 15,000 euros. I may be wrong, but I personally will not be surprised to see it. Nürburgring is not making any money on it. They charge the people who crash the barriers directly what the net company is charging them to replace those barriers. So we will have to see. People do not get charged for the closure of the track. This is a myth that was said many, many years ago. I personally, in my decade career at the Nürburgring, have never seen a bill for closure of the track, so we will not be charged with that. But with people, with all the emergency and the barrier recovery. And in addition, to rebuild the car as it is, with all the barrier costs and everything, I think it should be around 100,000 euros. If we're gonna put extra mods on it, the sky is the limit, literally. So we'll see where this is going to end. But for now, we're still waiting for the barrier bill and to see how much of this we can salvage and which direction we will be going. And I guess that's kind of it. To conclude, first of all, I'm happy we're alive. I'm happy we already can make jokes about it. And in a way, I'm kind of looking forward to see where this new chapter of our lives, of our friendship is going to take us, because we've known already each other before. I drove the car already in April, so it's not that you're some random guy to me. And yeah, I'll welcome you to join this journey, either through the crowdfunding or on social media, or when we will be at Ultrace later this month, you can come and meet us, etc. Yeah, I'm already smiling, you as well. So that's all that matters. Is there anything else I've forgotten?
Yeah, just a little thing. I wanted to say hello to one of my good friends, actually our common friend. Don't touch things.
Yeah, because he touches cars and then they break. Or he touches things and then they break.
Anything.
Anything. Please, friend, don't touch things.